Hey everybody, welcome back to Mystifying Miracles. I'm Kristen, and every week, twice a week, I search out true stories that are sometimes mysterious, but the point is that they always have at least that one miracle in each story that I do. So if you do like those true mysterious elements, but ones that always end on a good note, listen along and we're going to get started for our story today. Today our story starts out in Shreveport, Louisiana, and there was a private duty nurse by the name of Margaret Baucom. And what she did is go to a home every day, actually a night shift pretty much, and she took care of an elderly gentleman. That was her job. She loved it. But there was, having those late hours, if you're a nurse and you've ever worked a night shift or holidays, things like that, you know how tiring and exhausting it can be because your body sometimes is just not used to those night routines. But anyway, she did love her job, but there came a day she was just more exhausted than the usual. And the elderly gentleman, his wife, she was at home as well. She told Margaret, you look really, really exhausted. How about you take off early and you go home and get some much needed rest? Well, Margaret was, not going to pass that up because she knew she felt exhausted. So she took her up on the offer and she said, okay, thank you. And she proceeded to leave to head back to her home. Now, when she was leaving, Margaret, like I said, she was tired. She knew that she was just a bit foggy brained. So instead of taking the big interstate home, she decided to take a slower route. Just, through the city, some back roads, things like that. And, it was around 4 a.m., so no one's going to be up at that hour, right? Very few people, on the streets. So she thought that'd be the safer route than getting on that big highway. Well, of course, in that daze and fog as she's leaving the home, getting in her car, she forgets to hit the automatic lock button. That's just something she does. I know me personally, when I get in my car, I always immediately lock all the doors. I'm just a safe nut like that. I always think of my surroundings. Well, Margaret was like that. But in this instance, she was just so tired, she plain forgot. And unfortunately, Margaret was about to find out how very wrong she was about this being easy, no one being out. She was driving down a avenue and it wasn't very lit. It was very dim lighting. She was coming upon a stoplight or a traffic light at the end of the avenue, and there was only one car in front of her. No one else was really out. And as she's slowing her brakes, getting ready to stop, and she's like, man, I'm drowsy. All of a sudden, the car in front of her, all four doors pop open, like really fast. Three young men, they had like menacing grins. They just looked threatening, got out of the vehicle on each side, except for the driver. He was still in the car at this point. And they start heading towards Margaret's vehicle. And as she's seeing this, even though she's tired, her heart starts pounding more and more and more as they get, because it's not like they ran at her car. They just flew the doors open and started walking slowly toward her because no one else was around. And Margaret says that in that moment, with things happening so fast, and of course, as tired as she couldn't even think or get the memory to, oh, let me hit this lock button real quick to lock all her car doors. She just couldn't get there because it was almost like she was captivated, or not, maybe that's not the right word, but stunned, when you see three guys coming toward you in the middle of the night, she just couldn't get her mind there, being tired. And a quick thought ran through her mind. She was like, maybe I can run them over. No, wait, maybe I can throw the car in reverse. But none of those things worked out because she was just paralyzed by the fear. So scared that she didn't know what would be the best and think quickly, since she was drowsy. In those thoughts racing through her mind as those guys are nearing her car and her heart's pounding, she screams out, God, help me. And that, guys, as soon as she said that, is when two big headlights started pulling up right behind her, and it looked like a big old semi-truck was coming right up, inches from her bumper, and it was blasting the back of her vehicle with light. You know how she's kind of like, what in the world? So yeah, it's just illuminating everything. And she said that the lights were so bright, they even like illuminated like the whole street, the avenue, in like this just glow, this shining glow. And she said it was very strange because here's this big semi coming really close to her car up behind her, and she never heard an engine, a motor, any tires or brakes squealing. Nothing. Complete silence. I'm sure that was very startling as well, seeing somebody in your rear view mirror and not being able to hear anything, especially that big. And as, he's nearing her bumper, the semi, the driver now is getting out of his vehicle as well. So the other men are already coming towards her, but now the driver is as well. And he's stepping towards Margaret's vehicle. And, Margaret's still praying to herself, and she's terrified, thinking, oh gosh, I do not want to die here. Please, God, don't let me die here. So now all four men coming towards her, Margaret's staring at their faces, and she said it was instant. Their faces changed. They were looking, it looked like at her, but kind of up and behind her is where they were looking towards. And their faces went from threatening to scared to death. Like in the snap of a finger here. And so she's wondering, what are they seeing, Because how do you change that fast from menacing grins to, oh my gosh, what are we looking at? I'm scared. And Margaret quotes, she said, he put his hands way up, almost in a gesture of apology toward the light, end quote. And then she said that that's when they jumped ship. They basically turned right around, hopped back into their car, and took off around the corner, and those four men were gone. So Margaret's now just stunned herself, thinking, what just happened? But she's also very relieved. Once they got back in their car and left, it was just like this weight lifted off of her, like just full release and relief. And she began to cry. And, she was thinking as she was crying, she was like, man, everything happened so fast. She, for a moment, thought, am I dreaming? And, she got herself together and she stepped on the gas to head back home. Meanwhile, the semi and those headlights still right behind her. And as she's taken off to pull off to go home, she wasn't far from her house at this point. The semi truck followed her. She said it wasn't threatening though, not the lights behind her, because she said she felt peaceful, at rest, calm, serene, all those words. She just couldn't explain how calm she felt and protected. And of course, as she's, going home with the truck following her, still no sound. Still no sound of the engine, no tires, no brakes, nothing. Still complete silence. Margaret began to reach a very heavily forested area as she was nearing home even more now. And that is when the big rig pulled off around the corner. So it's almost like it was taking her home, sort of, like making sure she got there safely. And she said she saw it behind her. As they were going towards that forested area, the big rig took a left behind her and kept going, and she watched it as it disappeared into the distance and into the dark. And after she watched that, she was just a few blocks now from her home, so she pulled up to her house. She, was still shooken up by what just occurred, and she went inside to where her husband had been waiting for her. He could, as she walked through that door, he knew immediately, what is wrong? He knew that she did not look or seem herself. So he asked her what was wrong. And, Margaret told him the whole story, every little detail. And her husband, his name was Bob, he said, where did you say that truck turned off again? And she described it, about turning left, the forested area, the whole bit. And Bob just was sitting there kind of scratching his head like, that can't be. And he said, quote, Margaret, Nothing could turn there. There's no road anywhere near those woods. End quote. So I don't know what happened. They don't know what happened. All she knows is what she experienced, what she saw, and how she was saved. And it said at the end of the story, it said, to this day, Margaret, she still wants to know who was the driver of that truck that night. Who saved her? Who helped her get back home safely? I mean, she never found out, and she's always left wondering, but she's never stopped being thankful for that miracle, for which she might not be here today had that not happened. So, interesting story, guys. Again, another one where you question, who was it? Was it just a nice passerby that saw what was going on? Was it an angel? What happened here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to get your take on it. What are your favorite types of like these miraculous stories? Because I like to take note and do more of what people are, I guess, wanting or liking, so to speak. But all miracles nonetheless, and I love them all. Just remember, guys, like and subscribe if you do like these stories. And I just want to say I appreciate you. I love you guys for watching. I really have a passion for this, and I really want to reach people. Let them know that there's a God out there taking care of them. So I'll see you guys for the next one.